In the preceding sections, we examined the subject of the Quran's miraculous nature and concluded that the Quran employs a distinct methodology, presenting a unique form of miracle. Our investigations demonstrated that it is indeed reasonable to accept this book as a miracle one that any individual can test within themselves to ascertain its veracity. The method adopted by the Quran is both fascinating and entirely logical. Indeed, this methodology is in itself a form of miracle. However, for the sake of equitable judgment on any matter, one must also listen to the opposing view. Opponents of the Quran and critics of Islam present various arguments and reasonings, contending that the Quran is not the truth and cannot be the book of God. They go so far as to assert that accepting this book is incompatible with human values. Therefore, before reaching a final verdict, we are obliged to hear the voice of the opposition and examine the raised criticisms to determine their validity. Yet, before scrutinizing these criticisms, we must reach a consensus on a crucial point. It is this: the majority of criticisms leveled against Islam and the Quran are, in reality, predicated upon the conduct of Muslims or their interpretations of the text. But do these truly represent the discourse of the Quran? As discussed previously, we do not encounter a tangible, monolithic subject named Islam. When we attempt to examine Islam, we are confronted with various sects and divergent interpretations, each refuting the other. Consequently, we cannot assert that the assertions of Muslims or Islamic scholars necessarily reflect the Quran's perspective. The very existence of such profuse disagreements in understanding the text demonstrates that the views of theologians are not necessarily synonymous with the word of the Quran. When we posit this point, it is accepted by neither the Muslims nor the critics. Muslims claim what we understand within our own sect is precisely the word of the Quran. Conversely, critics retort, you say this merely as a justification. Having observed that the Quran contains immoral or unscientific statements, you now seek to claim its intent is otherwise. However, when we approach this book as an impartial observer, devoid of presuppositions and armed with scientific criteria, we must establish our own direct understanding of the text as the standard. If this understanding aligns with the prevalent view of Muslims, all the better. But if it does not accord with the popular opinion, there exists no logical reason to accept a certain interpretation simply because scholars have espoused it. We must adhere to scientific standards and judge with intellectual honesty. Most significantly, the Quran itself has anticipated this contingency. The only complaint attributed to the Prophet on the Day of Judgment in the Quran is this: "O my Lord, indeed my people have taken this Quran as abandoned," when the Quran itself declares this, demonstrating that Muslims may have erred in understanding parts of their scripture is not a justification on our part. Rather, it is the very realization of the Quran's prediction. This fact affords us the opportunity to examine the book with an objective eye to determine whether the criticisms are truly applicable to the text itself.